Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Beilein to Victory podcast. This is episode number 20. We have a lot to get into, so we'll get right into it. So we have some breaking news. After their win over Illinois, Michigan State has clinched a share of the regular season Big Ten title. I'm only sharing this with you guys just so you know that this means absolutely nothing and that the Big Ten tournament will decide who wins the conference. So, today we're going to talk about the game against Ohio State, a great win over another top 10 team. And then we will talk about the upcoming game at Penn State. We'll look at the remaining schedule and scenarios. And then I have some Big Ten football rankings going into next year. So this game, this was a great game to watch. They played very, very well in all facets of the game. They shot free throws better than they have been. Simpson made some free throws. Wagner was all over the floor, hustling all over the place. Rockman played well. We were making shots. We played great defense the whole game. Did exactly what we needed to do to win that game. Did a great job on Bates Diop. Duncan Robinson played great defense on him, as did Isaiah Livers. The only issue was Deshaun Tate, and they really just didn't have a matchup for him. Matthews wasn't big enough to guard him. Livers wasn't quick enough. They just didn't have a matchup for that. So that was the only issue, but they fought through that. And just another great win, a big resume-building win. And we'll talk more about their resume a little bit later in their scenarios going into the tournament. But this is one that we're going to look back on, I think, later in the year. A great resume-building win for Michigan as they move up to number 17 in the rankings now. And considering they weren't ranked until January, and now they're moving well into the rankings and have two tough games ahead of them. If they win those two, they're going to be in the top 15 to end the season. I mean, that's pretty good. They've made it a long way this year. Made it a long way from a team that was a fringe tournament team to being a title contender. It's been very impressive. So, upcoming game at Penn State. They also play at Maryland. Of these two games, I expect them to lose one of them. I expect it to be the Maryland game. Maryland's a very tough place to play, but we'll go over that more on Friday. Penn State, this is another tough place to play. Really is. Penn State's a decent team. They're a fringe tournament team. Their performance in the Big Ten tournament will decide whether they make the tournament or not. They did beat Ohio State twice. Tony Carr is a heck of a player. That's really going to be their only issue. Rockman is a great on-ball defender, so they'll put him on Tony Carr. And if he can defend him well, I expect Michigan to win this game. And I don't think it's a good matchup for Penn State. I think they're going to win this game quite handily. I really don't think it's going to be much of an issue. The Maryland game is not a good matchup. I don't think they're going to win that one, but this is the first time I said that all year. But I think they go in and win. I think they go in and beat Penn State. I don't think there's an issue. I think Wagner has a great game. It's a good matchup for him. I think Rockman will be able to tire out Carr while he's on him on defense. That it will in turn have Simpson, Rockman, whoever Carr is guarding, have a great game because Carr is going to be worn out from Rockman following him around the whole game. So I think they're going to have big games. And I think this would be a good one. This is not exactly a resume building win, but this is one that moves us up in the rankings. I think this is one they have to get because at Maryland, that's a real tough game, and they got to get this one in my mind. All right. So the remaining games at Penn State, at Maryland, and then in the Big Ten tournament, we're going to look at if they do what I think they're going to do and lose one regular season game. Take a look at that. But first, this is the best scenario. If they win at Penn State, at Maryland, and they go into the tournament, beat Nebraska, they beat Michigan State, they beat Purdue, that gets them a 2 seed in the tournament. I don't know how you cannot give them a 2 seed in the tournament. If they do all that in the next 3 weeks, they will get a 2 seed in the tournament. Mark my words, they will. Now I think this floor for them is for them to lose at Penn State, at Maryland, and lose to Nebraska in the Big Ten tournament. That probably puts them at an 8. So it's going to be anywhere from a 2 to an 8. I don't think both of them are really unlikely. But let's look at the more likely scenarios. So if they lose one regular season game and they go in and they win the Big Ten tournament, that puts them as a 3 seed in my mind. Because that one at Maryland, people are gonna say, all right, you lost that game. But if you go and beat Michigan State and Purdue, that moves you back up to a 3. Now, if you go and you lose in the first round, the only reason they're not an 8 at that point is because of that win against Penn State. That puts them down to a 7. And then I just moved them up 1 seed from there. If they lose to Michigan State, I think that puts them at a 6. If they lose one regular season game and then lose in the title game, I keep them at 5 because I think if you look and you lose to Purdue and you go ahead and you lose to Maryland, I think they're not going to put a 9-loss team in the 4 line. I think it could possibly be in the 4 line if that happened. But I would say 5. Right now they're projected as a 5 from ESPN, so that's what I was basing it on from there. So we'll look at some Big Ten football rankings for next year. This is going to be great going into it. The 2 of the 3 biggest brands in college football, Michigan and Ohio State, I have tied for first in the Big Ten. Ohio State, obviously, they had a great recruiting class. They're returning guys from last year. Look all right at the quarterback position with Dwayne Haskins, so obviously they're going to be up there, and they're ranked in the top 5 in most rankings. Michigan is ranked in most of these rankings. They're right. I've seen some with them in the top 10. I saw one with them in the top 5. Bleacher Report has them at 5. I've seen some where they're not barely in the top 20. I had them at 7, but I think by the end of the year they're going to work their way past Ohio State. That's why I have them tied with Ohio State. Michigan State is a team that scares me. They're returning a lot of guys, and they have a good quarterback in Brian Lewerke, but I don't think that they're just going to be there. I don't think they're going to have enough talent to compete with Michigan and Ohio State. That's the only thing that concerns me with Michigan State. Wisconsin obviously is a given. They're one of these teams that probably not going to win the title or they're probably not going to win the Big Ten. Probably not make too much noise nationally. They did last year, but they're going to be a solid team. And Penn State, I mean, the only reason they're down this far is because they lost a lot of seniors. They'll be back up next year. So if you're a Penn State fan, there's not really much to worry about there. They're just going to have a rebuilding year. Now, Nebraska has not been good over the past few years, but they got Scott Frost, and they had a pretty good recruiting class, so that's why I put them at 6. Purdue, bowl team. And a lot of people aren't even talking about them at all. They're a team that scares me. A bowl team in the Big Ten, they're at 7. Iowa's a big-time brand. They're going to get decent recruits. As is Maryland, got a lot of good recruits as well. Minnesota's having a rebuilding year. I don't see them being very much. Indiana's just not there football-wise. They're in the Big Ten to play basketball. And after that, Rutgers and Illinois, the embarrassments of the Big Ten in most sports, will round it out. So Michigan's up there. I just think with the best defense in the country and a 5-star quarterback, how can they not be up there with Ohio State? I see the argument for Michigan State, kind of, but I don't see them competing with Ohio State, Michigan, and Wisconsin. No, anybody who has them ranked 1 in the Big Ten is just out of their mind because they just don't have the talent. Neither does Michigan State. They don't have as much talent. All right, well, that's going to do it. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe, and we'll be back on Friday with another podcast. Go Blue.